Hey guys, so let me tell you guys how I became Auston Holman's number one hater on YouTube. First, let me tell you guys how I became, because it's gonna be a long story. So, how the way I'm gonna tell it is, I'll tell you how I come to find his channel, and then I will tell you like the evolution of me going from liking his channel to hating them, like liking him to hating him. So first, how did I find his channel? So I write on Medium, and back in the end of last year, when Austin Holman got in trouble, people how his name and other black men's name was being mentioned in relation alongside like sex tourism. So a lot of black men on Twitter pointed out the racism of making black men the face of sex tourism when white people have been doing it much longer than that. So I'm like, you know what, that's actually a good point, so let me write on this. So I wrote this article on Medium, and like I forgot about it. Like I wrote about it, and that was it. I was done. But then I think like in the beginning of this year, like I think March or April, Pearly, Miss Pearly, that her the scandal of her interviewing what's his name, Nick Fuentes. When that happened, people kept on mentioning Auston Holman, and I'm like, okay, who the hell is this Auston Holman guy? So I went and checked him on Twitter, and I'm like, oh, that's the guy, that got in trouble in Brazil, and he actually looked better, like in the pictures he had, because in Brazil he looked like a bum, right? He's always walking around shirtless or half naked, and then with a wife beater. I'm like, okay, so this guy is actually he's decent looking, and I'm like, okay, so. And I noticed that he has a YouTube account. I actually thought when he got in trouble in Brazil, they kicked him off all social media accounts. So I'm like, okay, let me go check his YouTube channel. I think at that time he was in Tanzania. And I watched, two to three videos of him in Tanzania, and I liked them, to be honest. I actually liked them. I'm like, okay, this guy had a charm. And one thing I liked is the fact that he was just showing us how he lives in Tanzania. He was not going out of his way to show us the poverty in Africa, or what some people, I see some people, especially Africans, do, which is go out of their way to to show the nicer part of Africa, and instead of just showing us how you live. So I liked it. So I started watching him, regularly, his Tanzanian videos. I mean, the more I watch, I was finding little bits of, problems here and there. But I'm like, oh no, you know what? That's not a big deal. I was just like able to ignore them. So I liked him. I became a fan actually, and I started watching. And then what made me even more of a fan was, I think he once had a video where he mentioned that he's since he started bringing black girls on his channel, the donation for his Cash App has gone down, and that his channel view has gone down, and he pointed out that passport bros do not like black women. Passport bros are black, right? So he pointed out that a lot of black men do not like black women. So I liked that. I liked him pointing that out. I actually wrote an article on Medium based on that video. So I'm liking him now. Like he's making good videos. Videos that are not white saviorish, or the Africa they don't show you type. So I like his videos. I like that he seems to be aware. He seems to be socially aware. So I liked everything, and I'm like, okay, this is actually he's a good person to to follow on YouTube and to watch. Then I'm like, okay, I'm liking his videos, so I'm like, let me watch his past videos. The videos he made before he went to Tanzania. That is when I went from liking him to not really liking him, because In a lot of videos, he talks about women's pH balance. And it grossed me out. The first time I heard him talking about it, it grossed me out. And I actually thought it would be a one-time thing, he would not repeat it, but he didn't just talk about it one time. He was talking about it over and over, to the point he was actually thinking of making a t-shirt with something like pH, your pH balance is off or something written on it, and telling them. And I'm like, this guy is gross. Then I also, watched a lot of his videos, the past lives and stuff, and it became very clear that he's also, not only is he gross, he's also extremely misogynist, extremely sexist. And of course, one thing I realized is also watching his past videos is that he was not in Africa because he loves Africa. He was in Africa because he got just out of Brazil, and because he was not successful in Asia. So he was not in Tanzania because he loved Tanzania or Africa in general. He was in Tanzania because he didn't have anywhere else to go. So of course, I also realized that he is using Africa to reinvent himself. He was trying to, because his image has been destroyed by what happened in what you call it, Brazil. And I'm like, now I am like, I hate this guy, right? I hate how he is exploiting Africa, because for me, he went from someone who was in Africa just, to have fun, to someone who is, who is using Africa, who's exploiting Africa. And, I start going on the comment section, and criticizing him. But when I criticize him, who comes and attacks me? Africans. And I was like, I am getting so frustrated. Like, how are you Africans and cannot see that this guy is using you? And then, he started bringing women, and I noticed that when he brings women, he doesn't even post their social media accounts, so that, they could get some clout from being, some kind of exposure from being on his channel. And then, he would change the women, and I'm like, and I'm actually kind of a liberal person, and I'm okay with that. But usually he doesn't explain. He doesn't say, what, I'm moving on to the other girl. It's almost like, the other girl never existed. It's almost like 1984, the past is erased. And I'm like, this guy is, not only is he misogynist, he is exploiting Africans. And I am getting frustrated because I get attacked, and I didn't know what to do, because I keep on going on his, social media, on his comment section, trying to sometimes I try to be funny. I try just to get Africans to see, to see through this guy, so I'm like, okay, this is not working. And I'm like, why don't I, start posting videos on my own YouTube account? And I'm like, but I have accent, and my accent is so thick, I cannot, people probably wouldn't understand me. And I'm like, no, it doesn't matter, because Africans will understand my accent. That's at least the East Africans will understand my accent. So I'm gonna go in and, start posting videos. And that's when I started posting videos. And actually, the one that almost broke made me, I guess, broke the camel's back, was the video he did with Jane, where he made her cook for him, and he sat there and ate while she was standing, in the background. That made me so angry. I mean, Jane probably comes from a very middle-class family, and that doesn't happen in her own house. I don't think she stands in the background while, the males in her household eat. So for him to turn her into a maid, an unpaid maid at that, or if she's paid, she's probably only paid $100 for all the money she makes him. It angered me. I think the way he treated Jane was probably what made me decide to to be a full-time hater of him. I mean, I'm not really a full-time hater of him. I mean, I have a job, and I go to school and study and everything, but make a lot of videos talking about him, because from the very start, the first day he brought Jane, he titled the video, my date with a beautiful brown. He mentioned her skin tone, brown girl, and it made me so angry because he never mentions where the skin tone of the light-skinned women. I mean, he has a lot of light-skinned women on his channel. He never mentioned their skin tone, and that told me how colorist he is. You are a black person. You should not see the skin tone of another black person. The skin tone should not be visible to you because you have, I mean, I'm almost sure that there are people in his own family with skin tones like her. So the fact that he could not see her as a full-fledged human being, but the only thing he saw was her skin tone, it made me so angry. And I'm like, okay. And what made me even more angry was that someone asked him, why did you mention her skin tone? And I'm expecting him to give, some ridiculous answer because the guy is not like, he's not an intellectual, right? And actually, that was one of the things I used to like about him. He is not like, he is ignorant. He's not sophisticated. And that is kind of charming to me. So I'm expecting him to give some ridiculous answer. But he said, well, dark-skinned women and brown-skinned women say they don't get love, so I am showing love, something like that. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy believes he's doing Jane a favor, beautiful Jane a favor by dating her, when in reality, she is out of his league. If Jane was in America, she would not be dating him. She will be way out of his league. But because this guy is a colorist, he thinks Jane is not beautiful, Anyway, and then when he made her stand so that people could see she has a big butt, it was so offensive to me because it's almost like his way of saying that she's not beautiful but she has good body, which is that is how dark-skinned women are objectified. They are not seen as feminine, more like sex objects, because they have big butts, so they're just seen as sex objects. And I'm like, I am already hating this guy. And then he brought her back the next day and made her cook. That is when I'm like, I am like, now I'm full-fledged hater. I don't like this guy. I don't want him in Africa. I want him out of Africa. He needs to go. And that is, that's what I've been doing. Like, since then I have been like, I just want him to get out. And I really, really thought when he was going to Zambia, he was actually going to, somewhere, like he was going to Europe, but he's not. He's still here. He's still in Africa. And the other thing is, I do not. I am okay with people calling me a hater. Hating is a healthy human emotion. Do not let people shame you into stopping hating despicable people like Auston Holleman. I will hate Auston Holleman. I will continue to post videos criticizing him. And hopefully, I don't have to do it for too long because I'm hoping that he will leave Africa. Because once he leaves Africa and goes to non-black cities, countries, he's not the problem of black women anymore. He is the problem of, whatever race of women he goes to. Anyways, let me know what you think. Bye-bye.